Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time. We're going to wait just a few more minutes as people are joining here. I see our attendees list is growing. So we'll give everyone just a couple of more minutes. As we're waiting, we do have a few while we're waiting to start slides for you. These first few slides just go through a couple of pointers and some tips to help you get set up. We are going to cover these slides in more detail after we formally get started. So don't worry if you're not quite catching everything. Just wanted to mention too, we do have a global mute on right now to minimize background noise. But we will have some interactive opportunities through the presentation. We look forward to hearing from you. And I just saw a couple more folks join. So for those of you that joined recently, we're just waiting a couple more minutes while people get settled and logged on. Again, there's a few slides that we're rotating through that might be helpful as you're getting settled in. And I'll let everyone know when we're officially starting. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. For those of you that just joined, we've just kind of been waiting for people to get logged on. We do want to be really respectful of everyone's time. So we are going to go ahead and get started, and we do plan to promptly end at 6 for those of you that need to make dinner and all your other activities for the day. So again, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and look forward to working with you on this exciting effort. So just a little bit of overview today. We'll be going through a general introduction. I'll be going through a Zoom introduction for those of you that might not be quite familiar with Zoom yet. I will go through some slides to help you. Then we're going to be covering the background of the focus of the plan that we're talking about today, a project overview, some opportunities, and then a little bit about what's next and some future opportunities to get involved. Great, so again, thank you all so much for spending your evening with us. As I mentioned before, there will be opportunities to really engage and provide some feedback. We do have a kind of global mute on right now just to eliminate background noise. But as we get started and go through the presentation, we will let you know when those opportunities arise for your input, and we look forward to hearing from you. So a little bit about Zoom. Probably a lot of you folks might be acquainted with it by now, but just in case, some little tips for you. It would be great if you could just check to see that your name is showing correctly. For the most part, I do see names, which is great. It just helps us when we're getting interactive and for participation. I do see there is one phone number, for example. So if you, as indicated on the slide, if you can rename yourself to include your name, that would be helpful. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. So the audio, hopefully you can all hear me clearly. There are a couple of options for audio. You can use your computer audio as indicated in the slide, or you can use the call information and use your phone. So full screen view is recommended. We will be going through PowerPoint presentation slides, and if you do have any sort of issues, my colleague is standing by to help you. You can see her email. Nicole Flewellen's email address is here in bold. Also wanted to note that this meeting is being recorded, and it will be available on the planned website. The address is shown here. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do have everyone muted by default for now, just to kind of eliminate background noise as we're presenting. You can use the raise hand feature to talk. You'll find it at the bottom of your screen. And you can also use the Q&A feature. If you select that, you can submit your comments, written comments. And feel free to do that anytime throughout the presentation, even if you're just having some technical issues. We'll be monitoring the Q&A and responding. Okay, next slide. Okay, so a little bit about the team. My name is Asha Blyer. I'm a principal planner at DUDEC. And Rose Newberry is the project manager at DUDEC, and we're very excited to be working with the city on this unique and exciting plan and opportunity for the city. We have Kevin Snyder, who's the city project manager. He's also here and available should we need him, and Gus Gomez, the assistant planner and project coordinator. Erica Van Sickle will be the presentation facilitator for tomorrow's presentation, which will be hosted in Spanish. And with that, I'm going to actually hand it over to Rose Newberry to give you a little bit of background on the plan. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for being here. We'll do some background on TCC and the project, and then dig into how this plan can support the City of Indio. Just a quick few things is, what is the Transformative Climate Communities Program? It's what's funding this project. So we're writing a TCC planning grant, which helps communities identify programs and projects that reduce greenhouse gases and adapt to climate change, most notably in the City of Indio, extreme heat, flash flooding, and it works in communities that are considered disadvantaged. So it funds a good amount of projects. Specifically, it funds housing projects that include active transportation, so walking and biking infrastructure, community projects that support a wide range of activities as long as they address issues of air pollution, climate change, and any climate resilience activities. Walking and biking just writ large to make it safer and more enjoyable to walk and bike around the city. as well as take the bus. And then lastly, urban greening, which is a big catch-all for anything of bringing nature into cities, trees, community gardens, that cool and make the city a better place to live. What are we trying to accomplish with this plan? So with this plan, it's a planning grant, so we're not actually building anything. We're really trying to identify projects within the project area of the downtown and jewel communities that's competitive for grant funding. The goal here is to identify projects that the community really wants and the state will probably pay for. So it's really a plan to get money and then later through other funding opportunities, be really ready to go after them and get that state money. So our goal today is to figure out those initial community values that we should be looking for in projects and starting to write the plan for every single grant requirement. How the community was engaged and what they want is paramount. It's good planning, but it's also a huge grant requirement. So our goal is just hear from the community initially, what values, what goals should we be putting to this plan? So this builds on some past planning efforts. The city's general plan was adopted in 2019. It's fantastic. I was reading it all day today. And it includes goals about how the community should look, be built, and guides private development. So it builds on those goals, values, and vision for 2040. It also builds on the Downtown Indio plan, which is focused obviously on Downtown Indio and how that should grow and develop over the next 20 years. And lastly, it builds on the Eastern Coachella Action Plan for Climate Resilience, which is another TCC planning project that our team just wrapped up in the city of Coachella in the Eastern Valley, which provided a very similar plan that identified projects, but also provided technical assistance to actually write grant applications. And the city of Coachella has won TCC related funding in the past year, in part because of the plan. So we're really excited to build on that experience and that knowledge and bring it to Indio. So the project goals are to hear the community's needs. Every project needs to address something the community wants and needs. We can look at data and understand where it's dangerous to walk and bike, but it also needs to address specifically what the community wants. We're also trying to make sure that those goals and those ideas are prioritized for what's most competitive for state funding. State funding, simply put, is a points ranking system, so we know it. And we just have to figure out what projects the community's identified get the most points. It's that simple, not easy, but it is pretty straightforward. Really just trying to figure out what we can be competitive for compared to the rest of the state. These are very, very competitive programs. So lastly, position for state funding. So that's points, and then also surrounding some narrative and getting these projects ready for grant funding. So whichever agency is going after the city or partnering with whomever has what they need, the information they need to get going if a funding opportunity comes across the desk. That's what we're trying to do with this plan. So an overview of the project. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or Q&A if anything of what I'm saying isn't making sense. So there's a project limitation or a geographic boundary of this project. So you can see the city of Indio in the black and then the project boundary in red. So we're focusing on the downtown and jewel communities. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see the project area better. The reason this project area was picked is because it's considered disadvantaged by the state of California. That's based on a pretty complex math equation, but basically it's the places in California that have the most pollution and the fewest resources to adapt to that pollution. So exposure to things like polluted groundwater and then low birth weights or asthma. So really just having the most difficult time with climate change. And some of the census tracts in Indio meet that, that threshold. So zooming in a little bit more. So it's the most disadvantaged. I'm just going to move to see my notes really fast. So here's a project area. This is downtown. And then this is the jewel community over here. So you can see downtown is where the courthouse is, City Hall, the Chamber building, the History Museum. And then the jewel community is north of Avenue 45, south of the Channel, And then as a fun activity and see if we can get participation is, does anyone know why it's called the Jewel Community? I'm not seeing anyone answer that. If you're trying to raise your hand or chat, let me know. But the answer is the streets in the community are named after jewels. So Emerald, Ruby, that's how you know you're in the Jewel Community. All right, and now we have another opportunity for interaction next if you missed your chance on that one. Let's see if I can. There we go. So our first question is, what is one thing you think this area of NDO needs and should be addressed in this plan? All right, I'm seeing Juliet, I'm gonna allow you to talk. And I'm trying to unmute you and it's not working. Juliet, can you unmute yourself? There we go.
Hi, so the Jewel Community, are you considering that the part of the one Jackson Bridge to the other Jackson, off of Jackson, that whole area, North Indio, 92201?
Kevin, can you answer that?
So the Jewel Community, basically the area that it runs north of Avenue 45, it runs east of Jackson up to Interstate 10, but the planning area that Rose has been describing does not extend on the other side of Interstate 10. So it doesn't go into what we typically refer to as North Indio, where you might find the Indio Town Center or some of the more commercial areas and residential areas.
Right, so it's right before you hit the new north, right? The new north area.
That is correct.
Okay, so yeah, that historically has kind of just seemed abandoned. And I think we do need a teen center there, you know, something to make it a safe place for kids to, I don't even know where the parks are at in that area. Like I don't know where the park infrastructure is at, or there is no community center there. There's missing a lot for the youth in that section in particular.
Thank you. All those things can be funded with TCC money. Mm-hmm. So that's a good one. Oscar, I'm gonna allow you to talk. And then you're still muted on your end. So you can unmute yourself. There we go.
Yeah, I would agree with the previous speaker and say that we do need some park spaces out there or somewhere for young people to go and play sports.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anyone else want to jump in before we switch slides? Give it another 30 seconds. All right. And again, Q&A, any point in the presentation. So we looked at the area and just to get a feel for the general community needs that we're trying to address. They're all listed here. This is kind of a long list. The dark blue means that it's really disadvantaged compared to the state, and the bright green means it's really good compared to the state. So you can see park access in some of these communities. This is just people living within a half mile of a park, is really bad north of 111 compared to the state. Not a lot of people live within parks, so we certainly can see that. Food access is also not very good. We have high asthma rates, which is generally living near the freeway, not having enough green space. So we're trying to address these needs through the program along with everything the community is saying. So you can see the data is there to describe that need to the state. And this data is important because we need to tell the state why. All right. Next slide. So the plan focuses on 4 key areas: community, housing, transportation, and urban greening. This is because they correspond to grant funding. So community projects empower the community and provide services and economic development. So a really wide range of things, like a teen center, community centers, community kitchens, solar farms, very wide range, anything that's really supporting the development of the community. Housing, it's an affordable housing grant. So we look at things policies that support renters and existing housing, but housing is mostly building new quality affordable housing where people can walk and bike to their daily needs. Transportation, this is focused on walking, biking, and taking the bus, making it more comfortable, making it safer, and making people want to use those modes more often. This is also really important in the parts of the community that have low access to cars, people that depend on transit to get to work, making sure it's not too hot, they can get where they're going safely without being hit by a car, those sorts of things. And urban greening goes hand in hand with actually a lot of these projects. It's building parks, adding trees, and community gardens. So basically, there's a lot of overlap between those projects, but those are kind of the 4 key themes and funding sources we're looking at. But one project can have multiple parts of that. So you can have a teen center with a bike lane and trees going to it so people can get there safely and interact with it. And the next slide should give you a little bit more ideas about what those projects are. So again, community, these are things like job training, solar panels on homes, getting better access to food, so being able to walk or bike to get food from a grocery store or farmer's market, and then community centers. Housing, really focusing on new housing development, but also policies to support rehabilitation and non-displacement of residents. The next one is transportation. There's bus shelters, bike lanes, walking and sidewalks. So again, anything that's going to make it easier or more helpful to walk or bike. And then our 4th one is trees and shade, parks, and community gardens. Like I said, anything bringing nature into the city. All right, there are 12 of you. So we're gonna take a live poll thinking which one of these themes we most go after in the community. All right, you should see the poll pop up on your screen and then just pick the theme that you think is the most important to Indio. All right, 1 of 12 of you has voted. There we go. It's getting exciting here. All right, we have 10 of 12 voting, so I'm going to give it about 15 more seconds. Oh, I see a question just came in. I can answer part of this. So the question is, are there any plans already set in place for this area, or is this the start of a plan? And then why was the community pool removed from this area? So the second part I'll leave to Kevin, but we are building on existing plans. So there is the downtown plan, which is just downtown. But other plans do cover the community. So the general plan is citywide and supports development across the city and those guidelines. Some of the key plans that include the community are the Complete Streets Plan and the Safe Routes to School Plan, which include projects for the community. Does that answer the question? And then Kevin, can you take the pool question?
Right. So I believe that's in reference to the city's what's been called the sports complex. And that's actually included with the boundaries of this planning study area. It's about 54 acres that the city has acquired over a number of years, and preliminary plans were put together. It's a long-term project for the city. It obviously has some expense related to it. So it is something that the city continues to look at. No definitive plans have been developed yet, but it is something that is continuing to be looked at. And my understanding from the plans I've looked at is it would have a community pool component. In the meantime, we do have, obviously in the city, we do have the poly pool, and that facility is actually going to be going under renovation. That's operated by the Desert Recreational District. And so that is a current asset.
Awesome. And we'll point out that area on the planning maps when we get to the mapping portion. I'm going to end the polling because we have 11 of 12 voting. And then we'll share the results. So as you can see, the highest ranked was community projects, although everything, urban greening was next. Nothing was a clear loser. And again, a community project like a teen center or a recreation center can have these other components. We can have components of walking and biking to that center, and probably should, and it's actually more competitive if you include those components. Thank you for that. All right. Go to the next slide. Now we're just going to talk about some opportunities in the area and start writing down some ideas that we can include in the plan. So things that we should think about, and we're gonna at the end of this, we're gonna go to mapping. So we're gonna think about where these things should go, but I just kind of want to refresh everyone's mind. What does the community need? Kind of where should it go? Where should housing be built? And specifically, what should it be close to? Does it need to be close to the daycare, the bus stop, the grocery store? So that people, especially people without cars or people choosing not to use cars, can get to those things safely, walking, biking, or taking the bus. Transportation, where do you want to go? Where is it important? What should we be connecting with walking and biking and shade trees? Looking at another plan, a lot of people said the park is where they're going to when they're walking and biking, but we're interested within this community. Where are those key destinations? Where are you trying to go? And then lastly, what kind of nature do you want to see? Is it more parks? Is it more street trees? Is it more community gardens? Is it all of those things? And where should those things go? Where are those going to do the most benefit? All right, so we're going to go in a little on the plan area. So just as a reminder, I'm going to zoom in before we start marking this map up. But here's the project area. There's downtown, Jewel Community, 111, and this is where Ken was talking about that planned sports complex. That's where the land was identified for the preliminary plans. So in this area, in downtown, does anyone have any project ideas for this area? You can put that through the Q&A or raise your hand and I will mark it up on the map. Oscar, you should be allowed to talk.
Yeah, I think maybe like a community garden would be good in that area. I know a lot of the neighborhood here does their own backyard gardening, so I think maybe they would be interested in something like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any place on the map that you'd like that to go, or just in general in this area?
I think just in general, yeah. I don't have any
right.
specific areas.
All right, we will call that in general. All right. Anything else? All right, we're getting some answers to, this is great. We're gonna also, when we write the plan, put these all into a chapter that clearly identifies what we're talking about. Some of the comments were something to do together. Community garden's a great idea. We've been hearing that a lot and we're looking into that. Also more affordable housing, coffee shops, closed streets recycling. I love these ideas. And we're also, for everyone that's typing in Q&A, this is great. We're gonna go over all the responses together. All right, and then I'm gonna switch to the next, actually I'm gonna mark these as done. And then we'll go to the next area. Oh, excuse me, I'm still starring on the map. Let me get out of that view and go to the next area. There we go. So this is the area, the Jewel community area. This is now, we are west of downtown. So if there's anything different you'd like to see here, and I'm going to try to remove those stars from the map. I am still learning how to use this feature. There we go. Awesome. I'm seeing a lot of community space, family items. Those are all fantastic. And then I have another raised hand. Oscar, you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that space right there on Monroe and Requa would be good for affordable housing. It's right next to 2 different grocery stores, pretty close to a high school and close to Highway 111 as well.
Awesome. There we go. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna give everyone one more minute.
And Rose, if you like, I can see where we're at with the digital whiteboard, and I've been collecting people's comments.
Yeah, let's do that. Do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
So Asha's been collecting our comments and can show everyone what we've all been saying in the Q&A.
Okay, so hopefully you can see. So thank you so much for the great feedback. This is really helpful. I've got sort of a snapshot here of where we were at with the poll. So you can see community kind of takes the lead, and the feedback and comments follow suit. We've got a lot of great comments here under the community topic, one under transportation, some urban greening, affordable housing. Just might be nice for you guys to kind of see what others are saying. If it speaks to you at all, feel free to make the same comments even. We're going to be recording everything, and we can kind of monitor and gauge the level of interest on you know, these different themes and topics. So even if you feel a comment's already been shared, please do feel free to go ahead and you know, give those same thoughts if you concur. We also, you know, we're sorry we can't interact in person and see your faces, but hopefully this kind of engages you a little bit, and we'd love to continue hearing your feedback. Great. So as we continue with the presentation, we'll be continuing to add to our digital whiteboard, and a copy of this will be also made available in addition to the recording of the presentation. But with that, I'll go ahead and hand it back to Rose, and we can give you folks a few more minutes too if you have any further input. We still have plenty of time left as well, so thank you.
All right, can you see my screen again, or is it still on the whiteboard?
Looks like it's still on the whiteboard.
Okay. Oh, I need to grab this. And I know how to do this. All right, now you should be seeing my screen again. Thank you, Shannon. And then the last thing will be anything that is north of Indio Boulevard. And we're seeing your Q&A come in, and we're routing some stuff to city staff if I don't have the answer offhand. And the other thing I want to highlight while I read these comments is that, like Asha said, the same comment again is totally welcome, partially because the state, when the state thinks that there's more support, or we can prove that there's more community support behind the same idea, it is more competitive. So this will all be recorded, but also included in grant applications. So this feedback really matters and shows to the state. I'm seeing comments about parks, which I am.
Rose, I see a few raised hands as well.
Oh, there you go. So, thank you. I have too many screens open. We're all learning how to do this. All right, Oscar, you're unmuted.
Yeah, so I think in Miles Park, we were waiting on a grant to come in, and it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get it. So I think something at Miles Park would be great. You know, if it's, whether it's like a dog park or a community garden or some other kind of infrastructure for that park there.
Awesome. All right, and then Jeff, you are now allowed to talk.
Thank you. I was looking in this area and in the previous areas. I didn't know if it would work. It would be kind of a tree-lined and hopefully bike path area to where the city is looking at putting, I think it's like a transportation hub, and maybe city staff can clarify, you know, on Indio Boulevard, I think it's near the train tracks and Greyhound station, that there is shaded bike lane coming both from the north, so the Jewel area, and then also from the west, that there are clear pedestrian and bike friendly paths to get to the new transportation hub.
Awesome. All right, and then Erica, you're good to go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. I just wanted to point out that, hi, I'm Erica from CVAG, just for full disclosure, and we're a partner with the city on this project, and we're really excited about it. I'd also point out from a selfish perspective that CV Link was going to be built in this area along the Whitewater River Channel, and that section is part of 2020 construction plans, which are out to bid. So if there were opportunities to build bike and pedestrian connections to that, that would be something that could fall in nicely with the other infrastructure that's being funded by the state.
Yes, a huge, as Erica knows, because she was our partner on the CVAG plan, a lot of this is about capitalizing on existing plans and supporting other infrastructure. So we're definitely looking at connecting CV Link. I'm also seeing more comments about active sports fields, walking and biking, and getting those things done. Again, everything I'm seeing is very fundable, which is absolutely fantastic. And if we don't get to your question during the live session, there is an email at the end of the presentation where you can email your questions and we can get back to you that way. But everything is recorded for the plan. And we will have 2 more listening sessions where you can look at what we got out of this and the other plans and comment specifically on the projects we have ideas for, and have your own project ideas. You know, feel free to screenshot Google Maps and send us your ideas. And then Kevin, did you want to talk about that multimodal hub before I went to the next thing?
Sure. So earlier this year, the City Council approved what we call our multimodal hub plan for what we call the Indio Transportation Center. It is the area where, if you've ever accessed Greyhound service in Indio, that's where you would go. It's also an area that has seen in the past some seasonal train service back several years ago for the Coachella Festival. It was used for that. The multimodal plan envisions this becoming more of a area where more bus service, more alternative vehicle service such as rideshare and walking and biking, along with the potential for future train service, could originate out of this area. The multimodal hub is on Indio Boulevard, and it's a natural location, we believe, for accessing both within the city and within the valley. So that plan was adopted by the city council. That was an important effort. We got grant funding to do the plan, and with that information, we can now start looking to the future to apply for grants that will help the city build out that over time. We have a kind of various phases to build that out. But that facility, we envision becoming a much more active place for different forms of transportation in our community and within the Coachella Valley.
Awesome. Yeah, and then we're reviewing plans all day today to make sure that our projects are connecting with everything else the city is doing to really create a network of parks, of transportation, of places to support a whole community. Let's see if I can go next. So now we're just going to talk about what's next, and we'll close with some Q&A. So if you have anything else you want to add to our chat, or just to say out loud, we will have that opportunity before we close. We have about 20 more minutes. So like I said, there are 2 more community meetings. So right now we're in plan review stage. So we're reading all these plans about complete streets that have already been identified in the community through community outreach, parks, and understanding what the community wants and has already said they want, and what the city's already doing to really understand and connect those things. Before the next community meeting, we're going to have some ideas about actual projects to be built, and that community meeting will invite more project ideas, but also customizations and additions to the project we have identified. Maybe it's not quite right, or it needs an addition. So that'll be something we go over at the summer meeting, and in the fall it'll be just a review on the whole plan. Again, more opportunities to customize those projects, and to give feedback and support, because at the end of the day, when the plan's done, we want to have really good applications for the state. So having as much data and feedback as we can about what the community supports the most will be really important through all of these community meetings, which will probably happen via Zoom, but I have no idea what's going to happen as meeting in person. Although that'd be nice. You can sign up for email updates on our website at indiotccplan.com. There's also opportunities there to submit comments, and we'll be posting updates there with how the plan's coming along. And Asha, did you want to take over?
Sure, thanks, Rose. We had some really great comments and feedback coming in. I've just been kind of collecting all those into our whiteboard, and we really look forward to kind of reviewing everything and getting into a little more detail. We wanted to leave a few minutes for any just general questions and answers. If we didn't get to a question, I'm just kind of looking through now and seeing if there's anything here. Someone did mention the old Lucky's building. I don't know, Kevin, if you're familiar with that. But somebody was questioning that area. I don't know if that would be a potential area for a project.
So that's in the area that same area that Oscar was referring to for some potential affordable housing. The old Lucky site, I think the question was, does the city own the site? And we don't. Unfortunately, I was trying to look up the ownership during the meeting, but the access to the county website is down. But that area, I think, because of the existing commercial uses, and as noted, the potential for housing in that area is an area that could be looked at for housing in the future, and potentially some of the other themes that we're talking about, urban greening, as well as community-based efforts. So hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you, Kevin. All right, we'll give it a few more minutes here, just to kind of keep folks up to speed. We did get more comments regarding community, which is great. Some other things that came in were, so I'll just start to kind of read some of those, and if anyone has any further thoughts, please chime in. But under community, we've got a lot of feedback about a community center, places for young people to play sports, coffee shops, community gatherings, entertainment for families, community art studio and workspaces, library and museum that just came in. Under transportation, closed streets for cycling, safe paths for travel and walking, accessible walking and biking routes from every neighborhood, to services such as parks. A train from LA to Indio, not only during Coachella. Let's see. Under urban greening, definitely a lot of interest in parks, community gardens, active sports fields, a lot of comments on sports fields. That's great. Housing, we have desire for new affordable housing, improvements to existing multifamily housing, just to name a few there. It looks like we've captured most of the comments here. I do see a raised hand. Mark Scott, go ahead, I've unmuted you. Oh, let me try that again. There we go.
Okay, am I on?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm the city manager here in Indio, and I wanted to thank everybody that participated. I know that I saw comments from Oscar, who, if people don't know, is Oscar Ortiz, one of our council members, and I'm pleased that he was involved. You know, this particular area is very important to the heart and soul of this community. As people probably already know, it's one of the historic areas of the city, and it's got needs and it's got huge opportunity. And I love the fact that you all provided so many ideas and inputs, and it gives us some place to go. And we're really hoping that this particular grant opens some doors to some funding opportunities. We've been disappointed a couple times, and we're hopeful now that with this effort we can turn the corner on some of those. So I just wanted to make a couple of comments just to say thank you. It's very important to us and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for being with us as well. It's definitely a unique and great opportunity, this program is. And what we like to how we like to kind of describe it, it's sort of like a stepping stone plan. And the way that we can really make the plan have its utmost potential is from all your comments and feedback. So your time today is really appreciated. And as Rose mentioned, there will be future opportunities for input as well. I'm just checking to see if there's any further comments or raised hands here. Also wanted to just say congratulations if anybody had any high school students. I did hear that there was a high school graduation in Indio today, and hopefully this wasn't a conflict for that. But I know that the timing of those things can be kind of fluid. So congratulations to any of those high school graduates out there. Also wanted to just remind everyone that tomorrow at the same time, 5 to 6 o'clock, we are offering this same presentation in Spanish. So if you know anyone that would be interested, please do pass the word along. And I think we're getting a question here. Okay, so we do have a question. Can any funds be used to add infrastructure for electric vehicle charging?
I can answer that. Yes, it can. Basically, the two components of everything in TCC is that it reduces greenhouse gases. EVs obviously do that, and or it reduces or increases climate resilience, so it addresses any climate hazard. Air pollution is an important climate-related hazard. So that definitely fits within the grant requirement. EV charging is something. We've also seen TCC funds in Fresno support. They bought a Tesla van for a community in Fresno that's a car share to help people get to the grocery store. So lots of EV opportunities, whether it's a share or charging for private. That's definitely an important opportunity that is included.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any more insight or interest to share regarding electric vehicle charging, any areas in particular, or any other details, please also feel free to share.
Yeah, so it was me that had asked that, and maybe some of the city staff can also chime in. You know, maybe if it's part of the affordable housing that's added or potentially added over there at Requa in Monroe. I believe there's already EV charging at City Hall, or will be. But maybe if there was another area in this project zone where the infrastructure could be added, maybe in combination with a new green space or something like that, so people could charge their car and have some shade to hang out and lounge in while it's charging up.
Great, thank you so much, Jeff, for that feedback. It's very helpful. Just taking a note of that here. We do have another question as well. Please share what communities' TCC funds have been used.
I can answer that. I would need to look. The easiest answer is there's a great TCC website that outlines all of the plans. The communities I know just off the top of my head, Fresno had a TCC plan. They're the ones that had the EV charging. Ontario and the LA more the San Bernardino region, they had a big community gardens program that they funded. There was a Watts plan that did a lot of active transportation. So, and those are the big ones that are coming top of my head. But it really is a wide range, and there's just TCC is a unique program in that there's just as long as you can prove that you're helping people, it's what they want, and it's good for the environment. You can do it. Not necessarily you're going to get funded, but it is a range. We can also post a link to the TCC website on our website, and so that the people can kind of read those plans and get an idea. So we'll add that to our website, and then if you sign up for emails on the website, once that's added, we can blast it out. And Julia, I think we have your email, so I can also just send it to you on your own. But we'll just make that widely available.
Great, thank you, Rose.
Oh, and then I see Erica's question too. Yes, so TCC is a family of grants, but one of the key ones we're looking at besides TCC is active transportation, so it's that walking and biking. But the best thing to do actually is to look at a family of funding and lots of other grants. It's resilient in that you can, if one grant doesn't go through 1 year, you have a lot of other leverage funding. So we are looking at what can be bundled, but we are looking at those main grants to kind of ground us in this plan, if that makes sense. So yes, we're not limiting ourselves to funding just because while grants can start and stop, general ideas and state priorities don't. So we're just trying to look at a lot of funding with these general themes of improving the community, improving the environment.
Great, thank you, Rose. Okay, we'll give a couple more minutes, see if any other questions come up. Rose, if you could also go to the slide that shows the what's next and future opportunities to get involved. Maybe we can.
This one or the last one?
Oh, this one's perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we have the contact information and website link for folks. Okay, great. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and close the meeting. Thanks again so much for being with us this evening. We really appreciate it. The recording of this live presentation will be available, as we mentioned, on the website, as well as some of the resources that we talked about today, in addition to the digital whiteboard and your feedback that you've shared with us. And with that, we'll close the meeting. Thank you all so much for attending. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. Have a great